Hello guys, I am Dr. Abhijit Joshi. I am an interventional cardiologist practicing since last 25 years in Pune city. Nowadays we hear a lot of persons having chest pain, uneasiness, and some bad news is that somebody had collapsed on work. Somebody who is 35, 40 had suffered a heart attack. So these news nowadays we are hearing quite often. If you talk about the change in practice, when we started our practice in 1995-96, the heart attack used to be in the age group of somebody like 60, 70, 80. But there is a paradigm shift in the age group of patients who have suffered heart attack. Nowadays, we have we are witnessing heart attacks in as early as 30, 35, 40, especially in those people who are working in IT or those who are working in shifts or night shifts. And this is really a bad scenario. To tell you one example, one of my patient's son developed heart attack when he was just 20, 19 or 20-year old, college going boy. So this is not a good scenario. And that's why I thought let us discuss about understanding what is heart attack, what exactly happens during heart attack. So heart is a very important and vital organ for all of us, which keeps on pumping without break. There is no holiday for heart. There is no 5 days week. There is no Sunday for them, and you not even a minute. You can imagine if you are asked to climb 5 stories of flights, your thighs and your leg muscles go into cramps. Just think about heart, which is beating without a single minute gap, 24/7. So what must be happening to the heart? So obviously, heart is a very dynamic organ, and because of its dynamicity, it requires huge load of oxygen, a lot of calories, and the continuous supply of minerals, sodium, potassium, calcium, which is given to the heart muscle through small arteries, that is called coronary arteries. These coronary arteries supply all the essential nutrients, oxygen, and calories to the pumping dynamic muscle of the heart. One more important thing is heart muscle does not have any regeneration power. Once it is lost forever. So in the incidences when there are blockages or obstruction to these arteries, that part of the muscle gets less blood supply, or in some instances the blood supply is abruptly stopped. That is what is called as heart attack. And when that part of muscle is not getting any blood supply, obviously that muscle becomes weak and heart as a pump become weak. Not only that, these heart attacks can produce lot of complications like irregular heartbeats, drop in blood pressure, or sometimes giddiness, and in rare instances it can cause sudden death. So we need to understand that heart is a very vital organ. It needs continuous supply of oxygen, continuous supply of minerals and calories. And anything happens to these arteries can lead to catastrophes, can lead to problems, and can lead to multiple issues. So what are the risk factors for heart attack? Which are the patient? Who are the patient who are likely to have heart attack more than the common people or common men? The most important is diabetes. Since India and Southeast Asia is becoming the capital for diabetes and heart diseases, we are getting more and more people in their 30s and 20s with type 2 diabetes, that is diabetes occurring in the elderly people. And diabetes causes diffuse disease. The arteries become narrowed in a longer length, the arteries become smaller in size, and there are multiple blockages seen in the patients with diabetes. And if it occurs at earlier age, obviously these patients are likely to develop heart issues such as heart attack and heart failure at their earlier age. So diabetes is a very, very important risk factor. High blood pressure, that is hypertension, because of day-to-day stresses, because of the targets we have to meet, because of the lack of exercise, because of the continuous pushing by the career, we are getting lot of high blood pressure patients again at the earlier age, and high blood pressure is a major risk factor for heart attacks. Abnormal cholesterol. Nowadays, because of westernization or urbanization, the food habits have drastically changed, but the exercise and the workouts have not improved to that extent. So we follow some of the diet followed by Western people, but we do not follow their exercise schedule. They walk 8 to 9 miles, 8 to 10 miles every day. That we don't do. But we keep on eating pizza, pasta, and high rich food rich in fat and containing high cholesterol. So cholesterol abnormalities are occurring more and more common in our younger population because of the lifestyle changes, because of the dietary modification, and because of the lack of exercise. And that is another risk factors. Talking about cholesterol basically we can divide cholesterol into good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, and very bad or ugly cholesterol. Good cholesterol is the cholesterol which improves the heart pumping, which keeps the arteries patent, which doesn't allow the blockages to occur in the artery. That is called HDL or high density lipoprotein cholesterol. The higher the HDL cholesterol, more is the protection. The bad cholesterol is called LDL cholesterol or low density lipoprotein cholesterol. Higher the LDL cholesterol, worse the prognosis. That is responsible for causing blockages in the arteries, inner wall of the arteries, which can erode the inner wall of the arteries and causes deposition of lipids, deposition of tissues, deposition of cells, and causes the blockages. And the worst cholesterol, that is called lipoprotein small a cholesterol or ugly cholesterol, which is seen more common in Indian younger people. So anybody having high LDL cholesterol and high lipoprotein small a cholesterol, these are the patients at highest risk, and they should be screened more aggressively and they should be taking more care. Obesity, central obesity is another risk factors which is responsible for early onset of diabetes, high blood pressure, as well as heart failure and heart attacks in younger people. Then anybody having family history of heart disease, like my uncle had heart attack at the age of 40, my father had heart attack at the age of 50, this kind of family history, that means you are genetically predisposed. There is some issues with the genetics in your family, and we have observed in our practice that the heart attacks or heart diseases have clusters in the family. So if you go into the deep into the family history, you see multiple members of the family have undergone angioplasty or bypass surgery or suffered heart attack. And the worst part is that those who have such family history, they are likely to present at earlier age. So one has to be really careful in this kind of population. Then stress is nowadays most important risk factor. Working long hours, working at odd hours. Somebody has call from Australia, so he gets up early in the morning, and another call in the late in the night if they have a client from USA. So many of my IT patients, they have such erratic lifestyle, no relaxation in between. There are big projects to be uploaded in that particular limited time, and then a whole team is awake for almost 16 to 18 hours. So this kind of stress is responsible again for such crucial heart issues. So let us understand what are the symptoms of heart attack. How do we understand this particular person is getting heart attack, or if somebody is suffering from heart issues? So heart attack has different types, which is called, one thing is called angina and another is called unstable angina. So stable angina, unstable angina, and heart attack is a spectrum from milder variant to severe variant. What is stable angina? If somebody is getting chest pain, uneasiness, shoulder pain, jaw pain while walking particular distance. Say the typical patient gives history that I walk for 6 rounds in my society. On 5th round I get heaviness in my chest, something happens in my jaw, or something pulls in my lower part of the chest or upper part of the tummy, and then I have to stop. Once I stop, I can again walk another 2 rounds. So this is called stable angina, where the blockages are there, but the pain relieves without any medication and after taking rest. Unstable angina means the pattern has now changed. I used to walk 6 rounds, now even if 1 or 2 rounds gives me these symptoms. What are the symptoms? Again, chest heaviness, shoulder pain, jaw pain, restlessness, sweating, and this lasts for 10 to 15 minutes, and then I have to take the sorbitrate tablet under my tongue to relieve it. This is called unstable angina, or this is called as mild heart attack. And the full-fledged heart attack is the crushing chest pain, uneasiness, vomiting, nausea, patient is sweating, patient is restless, cannot get any relief even if walking small distance, patient goes to toilet too wide, still the pain is there. This is typical heart attack. So chest pain, uneasiness, restlessness, sweating, and the symptoms not getting relieved after 10 to 15 minutes. These are the classical symptoms of heart attack. In patients who have long-standing diabetes or in elderly people, they may not feel the chest pain at all, and they just feel severe fatigue, tiredness, or sometimes sweating. Even though everybody is feeling cold, he is feeling sweaty. There is a sweat, he feels like switching the fan on full. Or in some people or in some patient, they feel breathing difficulty, even if walking small distance gives them breathlessness. So these are atypical presentation. In our practice, what we have seen, one of our physician friend had toothache as the only symptom, and he went to dentist to get his tooth removed, and when the pain still continued after that, when he got his ECG done, it was a heart attack. So these are atypical presentation. So whatever we see in movies or what we read in books, that chest pain is the only symptom of heart attack, it is not like that. Gastric symptoms are very, very commonly missed. So people getting acidity, burning sensation in the chest, it may not be acidity alone, it can be a heart issue, it can be heart attack. The acidity which is not relieved with 1 or 2 tablets of antacids, one definitely should get himself checked for the heart issues. So what to do if somebody is suspected to have a heart attack, and how do we diagnose it? So if somebody is having such symptoms like chest heaviness, uneasiness, jaw pain, profuse sweating, nausea, not relieved with routine antacids, then immediately one should go to the hospital, which is equipped with cardiac setup like intensive care unit, cardiac catheterization laboratory, and all the facilities should be available. So what are the tests we do when the patient arrives in the casualty or emergency department? The first thing is thorough clinical examination. We assess the patient's vital, that is pulse, blood pressure, whether he is sweating or not, whether he is having any complications like breathing difficulty, whether there is the heartbeats are irregular or not. So clinical examination, assessing the patient history wise, physical examination, and then comes the investigations. So what are the common investigations we do? The first and most important investigation in heart patient is the electrocardiogram. Electrocardiogram is the test which can be done at bedside. Very simple test, inexpensive, but gives very good information about the status of heart. If somebody is suffering from heart attack, if somebody has issues with the heart rhythm, that is irregularity of rhythm, if somebody has major issues with the dilatation of the heart, this can be picked in electrocardiogram. But one word of caution, what we have observed in our clinical practice, that within first few hours, like 2 or 3 hours, patient can have normal ECG. So ECG being normal in patients who have typical symptoms does not rule out heart attack. So that means the patient has to be observed in the hospital, and the ECG has to be repeated after 2 to 3 hours, and there are some more tests to be performed to confirm whether it is a heart attack or not. And what are those tests? Blood tests. So we do troponin test, we do CPK-MB blood test. So these are the markers of heart attack, and they can give us a very good clue whether the patient is suffering from heart attack or not. The next investigation is electrocardiogram, echocardiogram. Echocardiogram is a sonography of the heart, where we can actually see the heart on the sonography machine. We can see which part of the heart muscle is not functioning well, whether there is any problem with the valves, whether the valves are leaking, whether there are complications of heart attack like development of blood clot in the heart chamber, or some other complications like development of fluid around the heart. So bedside echocardiogram is a very crucial and important investigation which helps in guiding the further therapy. Once we diagnose that there is a heart attack, now what next? So heart attack occurs because there is a blood clot formation in a narrowed artery of the heart, and this can be treated in two ways. One way is by giving a thrombolytic injection, which can be given within few minutes and which can lyse or which can dissolve the blood clot, and it can restart the blood flow which was occluded for a while and can stabilize the patient. This is called thrombolytic therapy, and the newer versions of thrombolytic agents are really helping our patients in reducing their complications, reducing their mortality in last 3 or 4 decades. But these medicines also have limitations. What we have seen is that only 55 to 60% of the patients really benefit with this injection immediately, and the chances of artery remaining open is seen in only 50 to 60% of the patients. So almost half of the patients do not develop the blood flow beyond the block, and the superior therapy, that is called primary angioplasty, where once we diagnose the patient with heart attack, we take the patient into the catheterization laboratory, we perform the immediately angiogram, and we locate the block. We assess the block immediately, and then by doing angioplasty, we pass in a small wire, small tube which suck the blood clot, and then dilate the block with the balloon, and finally we deploy one mesh called stent, that is drug-eluting stent, and that can re-establish the flow spontaneously, immediately, instantaneously. By doing that, what we have seen that the chances of artery getting opened is almost to the tune of 97 to 98%. The chances of a long-term survival are much superior in patients who have undergone the angioplasty after heart attack as compared to thrombolytic, that is injection therapy, and more patients survive over the period in patients with angioplasty group as compared to the thrombolytic group, and the heart pumping remaining normal or remaining good is more common with patients who have undergone the primary angioplasty as compared to the patient with injection therapy. So the newer therapy called primary angioplasty has given a great boost to the heart attack management, and most of the major hospitals in Pune and major cities are doing primary angioplasty program, where doctor has to immediately reach to the hospital, perform the immediate angiogram and open the artery to re-establish the blood flow. And this has really revolutionized the management of heart attack in last two decades. But talking about heart attack, nothing like prevention. Prevention is the best cure. That is what our people have told us, our teachers have told us in our lectures. And how? Because as we have already discussed that heart muscle do not have regeneration power. So once the part of muscle is damaged, it is damaged forever. So why to wait for that? Let us prevent our risk factors. So let us prevent the heart attack. And how do we do that? So if somebody has a diabetes, high blood pressure or abnormal cholesterol, controlling these is extremely important. So you should know your numbers. Your blood pressure should be within limit, that is the upper BP should be less than 130 and the lower BP should be less than 90. Control your sugars properly, that is your fasting and postprandial sugar should be within the limit, that is fasting should be less than 100 and postprandial, that is after meal sugar, should be less than 140, and the 3-month sugar control should be less than 7. So these are the main important numbers we should remember. Again, cholesterol, talking about cholesterol, the total cholesterol should be less than 200. High density cholesterol, which is a good cholesterol, should be more than 40 or 50, and the bad cholesterol should be less than 100 as a whole. If we can manage these numbers, then we are definitely reducing our risk of developing heart issues in the future. Not only heart issues, but the issues of the brain, that is stroke or kidney failure. So diabetes, high blood pressure, these are not limited to one organ, they are systemic diseases, and treating them definitely will be rewarded by protecting many vital organs of the body. Diet is important part in heart attack management. And what should be our diet? The diet should be rich in fibers, rich in proteins, rich in green leafy vegetables, rich in fresh fruits, and rich in sprouts. We should consume as less as possible of saturated fats like ghee, butter, cheese, processed food, which is really bad for our heart as well as other organs. Timing of food intake is also equally important. We should have a definite and proper pattern of eating. Eating at particular time gives us a proper digestive juices, proper digestion of the food, assimilation of the food, and that really also helps in getting the risk to minimum. Talking about the non-vegetarian food, many people like non-vegetarian food, and which is a good non-vegetarian food is fish, because fish contains protective amino acids called as omega-3 fatty acids, which are really protective to the heart. And but the preparation of the fish should be good, that is, it should not be deep fried, it should be either boiled or light fried. Talking about chicken also is not bad, but the preparation can be bad by deep frying. So boiled chicken or chicken prepared in less oil also is good. One should avoid red meat, that is mutton, because it contains a lot of bad cholesterol elements into it. Smoking is the worst risk factor anybody can have. If somebody has diabetes and smoking, the risk of developing heart attack and stroke multiplies many folds, and smoking has to be stopped. Absolutely very, very important. Smoking has many issues, many problems, can cause heart attacks, can cause strokes, can cause cancers, stomach cancer, kidney cancer, lung cancer, and whatnot. And smoking has to be stopped immediately in patients with high risk, or the smoking has to be discontinued immediately in these patients. Alcohol, moderation in alcohol is very, very important, and as far as possible, alcohol should be avoided in patients who have depressed or poor heart pumping, because it further worsens the heart pumping in the long term. Exercise. What is the good exercise? So in patients who have high blood pressure, who have previous heart attacks, or who have bad diabetes, the main exercise in such patient is aerobic exercise, that means simple walking. And how much? Walking for 40 to 45 minutes, covering 3 to 4 kilometers daily. 5 days a week is a very good exercise for our lungs as well as for the heart. And exercise can reduce the diabetes, can control the blood pressure in a better way, and can reduce the bad cholesterol. So multiple advantages of exercises. In addition to walking, one can have good cycling exercises. Swimming is also a fantastic exercise, and intermittent walking and jogging in patients who can run a bit definitely helps in getting our risk factors controlled in a better way. What is the exercise to be avoided? In patients with high blood pressure and heart issues, one should avoid exercises with weightlifting. These are not the good exercises for our heart, and such exercises should be avoided. And the last and most important thing is living stress-free life. So we go through a lot of stresses in our day-to-day activity, but we should have some time for ourselves. We should follow our heart, we should follow our hobbies, we should pursue our hobbies in a better way. Somebody can listen to the soft music, somebody can sing, somebody can do good paintings, and that helps in de-stressing our body, de-stressing our heart, and de-stressing our brain. So good lifestyle with controlling diabetes, high blood pressure and cholesterol helps in having disease-free or complication-free life in the future. And for that, periodic health checkups are very, very important. Anybody who is 40 or 45 plus should have their health checkups at least once in a year, and the health checkup should include routine blood sugars, cholesterol, HbA1c count, electrocardiogram, and if required stress test and echocardiogram. So these are the simple measures to see where you are, and if there are issues, you can immediately take the help of your doctor, and he will help you in controlling these risk factors so that the complications will be delayed or can be prevented. So I wish you a very happy and stress-free lifestyle to prevent your heart attacks, brain issues like stroke, and kidney failure in a long term. Thank you very much.